Woo! Well, here we are. The last two videos of the year. All my YouTuber subscribers, hope you guys are having a great couple of last days of 2024 because it's time to talk about the best and the worst movies of the year. Kick off with the worst movies of 2024. Oh my god! I need another bottle of this because this is almost gone, but we're gonna go through this. Me and you, thank you for taking time out of your day and night this entire year to hear me talk about movies, good and bad. It's been fun. I love you guys for it, because next year, the channel's going to look completely different from what it looks like now. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. That being said, that's why you click on the video. You want to know about what are the worst movies, in my opinion, of the year. Well, all of them are horror movies. No surprise there, huh? Because it's like, this year has not been good for horror. It's been good for horror movies, but it's also been bad for horror movies. But the fact that it has been good for horror movies is a thing. Like, little spoiler, on my best list, I have a horror movie. Sort of a horror movie. I have a horror movie as my number 2. I don't think I've ever given a horror movie that high of a rank in my years of YouTube. So that speaks volumes. Let's just get into it, guys. Let's talk about my top 10 worst movies of 2024. Start off with number 10. Here we go. Number 10 for me is kind of a disappointing movie. Like, I don't think it was bad, but it was disappointing. And that movie is In a Violent Nature. I remember seeing this movie and being like, oh man, a movie about the killer's point of view and shit, and him going on a killing spree. I thought that was an interesting idea. Not great execution because the movie was kind of slow and boring. Like I said, I like the idea of a movie following the killer from his point of view and shit, seeing how he stalks his victims and shit like that. Great on paper. But it was missing a lot of elements that kind of make a movie, not only a movie, but a movie good. I remember seeing it and being like, this movie doesn't have a soundtrack, so you're just watching this silent killer just walk around silent like this. But that sound entertaining to you? But again, like I said, I don't think it was necessarily terrible. That's why it's only number 10. There are worse movies than this, but definitely a movie that I'm like, if it gets a sequel or remake, learn from the first movie and do better. So do it the same, but better. Now for number 9. Here we go. Number 9 for me, I was like, I put this on the list just because I feel like I had to put it, so. But it's not a good movie, but I'm like, well, I have to put it on there, because if it's not on there, people are going to be like, why is it on your list, idiot? Why? That movie is Madam Web. Yes, Madam Web is on the list because you knew it was going to be. Definitely a movie that, again, I know it's not good, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it as much as other critics and other movies I've seen on this list. It's one of the movies that I'm like, I know it's bad. Gotta get on the list. But it's also a movie that I went into it just like, I don't even consider this a superhero or a Marvel movie. I'm just seeing this as a movie about a girl who's clairvoyant and shit. She's trying to stop this evil spider dude from killing off these 4 teenagers. I see it like that. Without the Marvel lens, it's not as bad to me. But I'm not blind. But I can recognize the universe is like, Madam Web was a bad movie this year. So that's why it's on the list. On number 9. Here's number 8. For me, it's a movie I saw this month, pretty recently. And that's Y2K. It sucks because this was a movie that I was actually really hyped for because I like the idea of, the year 1999 when Y2K happened, all this bad shit that we thought was going to happen ended up happening. I thought that was going to be like, I don't know what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like Zombieland meets like fucking Terminator and shit. But it was neither. One of my biggest con was they killed off the fat kid. I was like, why'd you kill him off? Now we got this other kid we're following who is way less entertaining, way less interesting. I don't care. Another movie I'm just like, shit. Just another one of those bad ones. Damn. So yeah, Y2K wasn't hitting. Here's number 7. Number 7 for me was one movie, but then I was like, I thought I went back and watched another review, and I was like, oh, wait, no. This is way worse. So this actually took the place of it. And that movie is Founders Day. Do you remember Founders Day? You probably don't, because this movie was worse Scream and worse Thanksgiving. Oh, my God. Most generic movie about a slasher and shit who's just on his revenge spree or whatever. I just remember, like, when I reviewed the movie, I was like, it was terrible. It was generic. It was worse Scream. Hated it, didn't like it. A lot of these movies, I'm like, really had to like go back and watch my review. And I was like, what's the movie about again? I know it was bad, but why was it bad? Watch the review. And then you'll know why it was bad. I think I'll pin it so you can know why. But here's number 6. Here we go. Number 6 for me was in the movie. I was like, I knew like when I made my list, before I do like the ranking, I put like all the bad movies in like a bubble. And I just like start taking things out the bubble. But okay, this goes number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. This one was number 6, and that movie's going to be the first Omen, the movie that a prequel to the original classic Omen movie that just didn't need to happen. It's a movie that really felt like a copy of things that come before. This movie I went to, just like, okay, I know it's a prequel, so I had to line up with the original Omen, and it's like it does that, but then it also changes things too. So now it's like, are you even trying to be a prequel anymore? I remember this movie was like immaculate. I think that's the movie. It tried to copy that. I had the same formula about nuns who go to this nunnery, then they discover that the nunnery is full of bad shit and demons are running amok and shit. Literally the same movie, but I thought Immaculate, since it came out first, had the advantage of being like, well, that was a little bit more entertaining, instead of the first Omen that's like, this is a copy of that movie. It's even worse. Yeah, these next 5 movies are ones I could really get into. The bottom half are just kind of like, yeah, they're just bad. Moving on. Now here's number 5. Number 5 for me was a disappointing movie, and this was a big movie. I think we can all agree this one was really bad. And that's Joker 2. Joker, was it folie et deux? When you have a movie that your audience can barely even pronounce the title of it, you know you have something bad on your hands. From Jump Street, the movie was announced to be a musical, and that was already a huge red flag for fans. Me, I was like, let's just see how they pull it off. I'm always a person that's like, benefit of the doubt. Watched the movie and I was just like, yeah, those musicals were just, they didn't move the plot forward at all. There were too many of them. And some of the songs weren't even good at all. They weren't even good. The year that feels like 2024 was just full of musicals. This, I have to say, was probably the worst one of them all. Shame too, because the first Joker was so good. Like, so good. This movie was just a very step back. Doesn't even feel like the first movie. I know there were so many controversies with the director, like, he didn't even want to make the movie, so he made the movie out of spite to say, fuck you, Warner Brothers. So yeah, just with so much bad blood into the movie, and so much bad blood out of the movie, this had to be right in the middle of the worst movies of 2024. Now here's the top 4 movies. Number 4 for me, The Strangers, Chapter 1. Do you remember that movie? Because it sure came out this year, and it was definitely not great. It was another movie that, a remake of something that just was inferior to it. I remember watching the movie, and I was just like, I haven't saw The First Strangers in a minute, but watching this one, I was just like, why did this feel like that movie verbatim, but worse? That seemed to be a theme with, like, movies, at least bad horror movies this year. They're sequels or prequels to what came before, but they're not, like, elevating the genre, elevating the story, elevating the franchise at all. It's just a step back. Stranger Chapter 1 was boring. I remember, if I'm wrong, I remember all 3 chapters were supposed to come out this year. Like, we're supposed to get Chapter 1, then we could get Chapter 2, like, I thought in the fall, and then Chapter 3 was going to come out this winter or early next year. But now I don't think we're even getting Chapter 2. Whoa, I think we are getting Chapter 2. Because now Chapter 2 is going to feel, like, completely different from the first movie. So hopefully it's better. If not, then you can look forward to Chapter 2 being on the 2025 worst list. Here's number 3. 3 for me is not a sequel, but this was bad. It's another movie that you're gonna be like, this was a movie this came out? It was. And that movie is Terror. Oh Lord, this movie was not good at all. Another generic movie that's just, again, I wouldn't blame you if you never saw this movie at all. I think this came out in the summertime, or I remember it. Because I remember my man from Spider-Man was, and I was like, I like my man from Spider-Man. I'm like, Ned Leeds in a horror movie. Let's see what can happen. The movie that's so generic about some killer playing cards and shit that come to life and are picking people off left and right in very forgettable ways, very cookie-cutter, generic characters you don't give 2 shits about, with an ending that's just like, oh, well, I guess there'll be a sequel. Please don't be a sequel. Terror is one of those movies that's just like, you're not going to remember it. You probably never even saw it. For the 2 people, including me, who saw Terror, yeah, you know it's just to be on the list. Okay, the top 2 worst movies of the year. Here we go. You ready? Here we go. Number 2 for me, a movie I just saw recently. Man. I'm going to say it like this, but like, oh man, like, it was bad. It was bad. And I saw it recently. That's Craven the Hunter. I feel so bad about this movie because this movie was just generically and painfully bad. And it's a movie that pretty much Sony was like, yeah, we're throwing in the towel. this franchise is over. The movie that literally, do I want to say it killed the franchise? Like, Madam Web was like this domino. Craven was the final domino, and it makes Sony be like, yeah, we're just scrapping all these Sony Spider-Man movies. Good heart, too, because it's like, Venom 1 worked cool, because Venom was close enough to a Spider-Man, like close enough to Spider-Man without him really needing Spider-Man to really make like a solid enough good movie. Now, his sequels were not great. They weren't. But these other characters like Morbius, Man Web, Craven and shit like what? They don't need their own movie. There's a reason why there's not a Mysterio movie in the MCU, because you know that Mysterio works better when he's in a Spider-Man project with Spider-Man's with him. I just think like all these Sony movies would have probably been better if they had Andrew Garfield or just cast a new Spider-Man in it. But I don't know the legal logistics that make them not be able to do it. I don't know, but Craven the Hunter was definitely the second worst movie I've seen this year. But there's one that's worse than it. Here we go. For me, the worst movie of the year unanimously is a movie that I saw like, what, I think in April or something like that, and no movie has been worse than this. Do you remember? Here we go. That movie is going to be The Exorcism, the Russell Crowe movie that just made me be like, Russell Crowe, will you just stop being a crap? Russell Crowe in this generic horror movie that's like, again, I feel like a broken record. This is a movie that feels like a copycat of other worse movies that not only came out this year, but came out a couple of years and shit. Another Exorcism. We just know it. We're just tired of Exorcism movies. Let's just say that. We're tired of exorcism movies. No more exorcism movies for a year or 2 years, please. They're all the same. They're literally all the same. They're all the same. I bring nothing new to the genre. Russell Crowe pissed me off this movie. This movie that was so dumb, so painful to look at. If you want my thoughts, I'll pin the review for it, and you can watch it and really get into it. That's my top 10 worst movies of the year. That's what I think. There's probably other worse movies that you've seen. Like, I have a list of, like, things that didn't make the cut. Like, Long Legs, that wasn't good. Night Swim, that wasn't good. Borderlands, that wasn't good. Let me tell you, like, there are movies that could have made the top 10, but only 10 of them to get on here. So, yeah, that's my list. What's your worst list? Type below, let me know, talk about it, and we're going to end the year off with the best movies of the year. So, see you in that video. You have a good rest of the day, and as always, subscribe. Until next time.